So friends, in the beginning of this chapter, we were looking into various parts of the UPSC syllabus that are important for your examination point of view. We also discussed some of the previous year questions, some of the MCQs that are relevant and frequently asked in the UPSC, BPSC and other PCS examinations. Then we will look into the matters of the governance as well as the issues of formation of democracy. Then we will look into the basic feature of the preamble, that is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and these are the key words that are inserted in the preamble and that carry the value itself. So the paper 2 is important for the polity and governance and also important for the GS paper 4, that is ethics, which has value of equality, justice, liberty, fraternity, sovereignty, secularism and so on. So we were discussing about various parts of the preamble which provide the basic structure of Indian Constitution. These are the key words in the Indian Constitution, and we see that India is guided by basic principle of federalism, and we see that how the basic structure works accordingly. So sovereign, what does the word sovereign means? We will look into the exact meaning and let us find out. So a state is governed by its nationality and the kind of population it has. For example, the state of France is governed by majority of people who are Christian in nature. Similarly, in England it is so. Chinese people has communism in their main part as a philosophy. Similarly, India has a socialist structure in its nature. So it is sovereign and socialist. Sovereign means India has its own laws making orientation over its own territory. It means that India can make laws, rules and regulation for any part of India's territory, and in terms of its rivers, in terms of ocean boundaries, in terms of navy, arms and ammunitions, in terms of security issues, in terms of disasters, in terms of citizenship rights, in terms of laws, regulations, boundary, citizenship, voting right and international issues. So that govern the sovereignty of a state, which is able to make its laws, rules and regulations over the parts of its territory. Second part is socialist in nature. India's feature is socialist in nature. That means India is not having a capitalist economy. India is not having a communist economy, and India is having a socialist economy. What does it mean, friends? India is having a socialist nature. That means that looks into every sections of society despite not discriminating toward the lower sections, toward the higher sections and towards the downtrodden sections of the society. That means government should make policies towards the vulnerable sections as well as the lower caste and classes of the society. The Constitution provides them fundamental rights, fundamental duties as well as all the facilities available in the directive principle of state policy to the deprived sections of the society. Government often make rules and regulations for housing, water, electricity, health sector, medicines and other kind of facilities to such sections of society. इन sections के लिए different deprived classes के लिए सरकार समय समय पर policies और schemes launch करते हैं. आप देखते हैं there is सौभाग्य योजना, then that is सहज बिजली हर घर योजना, there is उज्ज्वला योजना for LPG cylinder, there is बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ for women empowerment, there is old age schemes for elderly people of the society, and there are so on and so forth facilities. So this is a part of socialist structure, and that makes India a welfare state. Then next part is secular nature of Indian constitution. That means the rule book of India do not prescribe the dominance of any particular religion. India is a secular country. India do not adhere to any particular religion, whether it is Hinduism, Jainism, Muslim, Sikhism or anything. India doesn't abide with any kind of religion, and it has its neutrality over religion. So India is religiously neutral. State has no own religion. देश का अपना कोई ऐसा धर्म नहीं है. Okay, that means secular. Now next feature is the democratic form of government that we discussed in the previous class also, friends, that what is democracy, what is other form of government, that is monarchy, autocratic, dictatorial kind of things. We also saw that what was the problem with the French society in European society, how Renaissance was made, how enlightened people lead to French Revolution, American Revolution was there, which you also study in NCERT class 9th. That again makes the relevance of NCERT, which also I quoted that you must learn NCERT by heart before starting the polity lecture. Now the democratic form of government is government created by the people, for the people and of the people in terms of their rule of the land. How the land will be governed, what are the sections that needs focus, what is the creation of justice, how the Supreme Court and High Courts of the country will work, what are the features under which the different kind of bodies, whether they are constitutional, non-constitutional and other bodies will work, and other parts of the nation work according to the rule book of constitutional law. So that is a part of democratic feature of the Indian Constitution. Again, we see that there are amendments made in the Indian Constitution from time and again, under which we see that at various instants of time there are certain changes that are made in the democratic structure. People adhere to certain laws. Then there are again Manual Scavenging Act, which was again formulated to prevent the exploitation of manual workers. Then there was Prevention of Child from Sexual Abuses Act, POCSO Act. There was Women Exploitation at Workplace Act, which again quoted for the development of women and protection of their rights. There was Maternity Benefit Act to provide facilities for the women and lactating mothers. There are Anganwadi centers. There is Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan to provide education, Shiksha Ka Pravdhan, that are again forms and features of the democratic form of government, which promises you as the people of India to have rights over the basic facilities of nutrition, education, health and well-being. Then comes the feature of republic nature of India. So India is a democratic republic. That means head is a democratic person, government is democratic, and the head is again a republic person. So head is president, which is supported by the Council of Ministers, supported by Prime Minister of India and his Council of Ministers. So president along with Prime Minister is helping to form the republic government. Then there is case of justice, which is a part of Preamble that provides the support of law, equal justice and fair treatment to the all people from different communities, different class and caste, that is abided by the principle of natural justice, कि सभी को न्याय मिलना चाहिए. People belonging to any class, caste or any community, they should provide with fair treatment before law. उनको कानून के सामने समुचित न्याय मिलना चाहिए, कोई किसी के साथ भेदभाव नहीं होनी चाहिए, and there should not be injustice with any person. Then comes the matter of equality, Samanta. What this principle said, that the people of India should be provided with the equality in their work. There should be provision for their action that is equal in nature. There should no discrimination on the basis of gender. There should be no discrimination on the basis of disability. So there should be no discrimination on gender biasness, disability, rich and poor, or racial discrimination. So such kind of thing makes Indian Constitution a equality based principle. That means each one should be treated equally, and there should be principle of liberty of expression, belief, faith and worship. Then there is, that means you can have right of life, there is liberty of expression, there is free media which can criticize the government at various levels. People have right to express themselves at various part of their life and criticize the government. They can amend the laws, and there should be liberty of expression. They can follow any kind of religion, they can do religious meetings, they can have the groupings based on their own choices. There can be protests, there can be marches against the government, laws, rules and regulations. All are forms of liberty and expression. And last is fraternity, that means brotherhood and भाईचारा. इसका मतलब है people should live with harmony with the other sections and other segments of the society. That means people should behave in good manner, people should have the right to dissent, people should have tolerance, people should have adherence to the other sections of society. So that leads to the fraternity among various sections of Indian society. Okay. Now coming to the next part, that preamble as a basic part of constitution and amendability. So what was that? In the various judgments of government, we see that Berubari Union 1960 there versus Berubari versus Union of India, Berubari versus Union of India case, which shows that the Supreme Court provided a guideline for the basic structure of the Constitution of India. So basic structure से हम क्या समझते हैं मित्रों? ऐसा संविधान का भाग जिसे हम परिवर्तन नहीं कर सकते हैं, जो कि मूलभूत ढांचा है समाज के और संविधान के संगठन का, जिसके ऊपर हमारे देश का संविधान काम करेगा, जिससे हमारे देश के नियम कानून चलेंगे. Now basic structure of constitution was again quoted in the next case, that was Keshwananda Bharati case of 1973, and that led to the creation of various amendments, and it's called as the mini constitution. इसे हमने mini constitution कहा. And that preamble becomes the heart and soul of the constitution. Remember this fact, it's very very important and asked by UPSC many times and also in state PCS. Now preamble becomes the heart and soul of the Indian Constitution. And how it acts like that? It acts in that manner as it provides the structure of working and underpinning philosophical base for the Indian Constitution. Socialist, sovereign, secular, democratic, equal, fraternity, these all are the basic features of the Indian Constitution enshrined in the preamble of Indian Constitution. Now next case was LIC of India case under Supreme Court opined that preamble is an integral part. What Supreme Court of India provided, that preamble is an integral part of the Indian Constitution and it should not be taken separately, rather it should be taken inclusively in the structure as the basic part of Indian Constitution. So, LIC of India case provided a basic guideline for the governing feature of Indian Constitution. Other acts that leads to development of Indian Constitution in the beginning, which we need to discuss, is we saw that there was a regulating act of 1773 under Warren Hastings. Okay, 1773 Warren Hastings was there, who created regulating act under which Supreme Court at Calcutta was established. Okay, then second important case was 1784 Pitt's India Act, which created separate body for the control of rules and laws and functions of East India Company, that created a board of control and court of directors. 1784 Pitt's India Act created board of control and court of directors. Remember this, very important for your UPSC. Then comes the 1833 Act, Chartered Act, which created a part of Indian Constitution in which there was Governor General of Bengal as Governor General of India, William Bentinck. William Bentinck was first Governor General of India, and he has all the governance across Bengal, Madras, Mumbai, Delhi and other remaining areas of Assam, United Provinces and Central Provinces. So that was again part of the legislative mechanism. Then comes the 1909 Morley-Minto reforms, which was Lord Minto was there. Before there was Lord Morley and Minto, who created 1909 Act, and under these there was separate form of government which was discussed with the other features and various parts, and that also led to creation of the provincial government. It also provided the power. Then comes the Government of India Act 1919. This act was a legislative provision in which there were three lists created. So state list, provincial list and concurrent list was there, and it brought the existence of provincial governance to the India. British choices to adopt the bicameral structure of government and has two separate government, which is central as well as provincial. Then finally in 1935 we saw that Government of India Act of 1935 acted as a mechanism principle to create a historical mark of the beginning of Constitution of India, and it provided the division of power. There is concurrence in the list, there is provincial power, transfer list, reserve list, and how far the bodies of governance to be acted in what manner, they all were divided into this 1935 Act. There was principle for Reserve Bank of India, there was laws for the governing of currency, separate laws for the women, for education, for health care, and such kind of thing was there. So there was a federal list, provincial list and a concurrent list in the 1935 Act. Remember this point. Then Act also guaranteed the power and autonomy of self-governance to the provinces. That means the provinces to work according to themselves. They should have their autonomy over their power. They should realize their aim. They should work on their own. They can make their laws and regulations of taxations, regulations and variability of the governance in their provinces. That was included in this act. Then finally the Supreme Court of India was born under this act to be transferred in Delhi. So board of Supreme Court was established in Delhi. Then the final India Independence Act of 1947, under which India got her independence from the British territorial regime, and India has its own government on the platform. So we saw that Britishers were taken away from the Indian government. Then there was concept of sovereign state that was first enshrined in the Indian law book. For example, when we saw that 1935 Act was made, there was no principle of sovereignty allowed. So sovereignty was provided under the 1947 Act. That means the democratically elected representative from the people of India can make laws for the sovereign territory of entire India, including the parts of rivers and Thar Desert, then Hyderabad, Andaman Nicobar, Lakshadweep, and entire territory of Himalayas, and Assam, Bengal, so on and so forth. So that was sovereignty creation in a democratic republic. And after the act, India becomes independent. India got her freedom after so much of a struggle, and that provided the foundation of Constituent Assembly, which further worked for the development of Indian laws, rules and regulations. So we saw that Constituent Assembly was there, which makes the formulation of laws. It also created the regulation of other features of Constitution, in which all the different sections of society were added. There was equal representation to the minorities, Christians, Jews, and other Muslims, Sikhs, and other such communities were made. Then separate caste, depressed caste, and other people of the society were also included. There was a board for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. There was provision for the upliftment of such caste and classes. There were provision for health and equal justice, provision for the protection of life chances, maternity benefit, equal justice, that were all added under this. So influence from the constitution across the globe was taken, that we see as the next part. So what were the borrowed features of Indian Constitution? We saw that there were the certain original part that were authentically added to the Indian Constitution by our founding fathers. Then there were separate parts that were borrowed from other countries, such as from United States of America. We got fundamental rights, features of Supreme Court, then the nature and functions of the Supreme Court, independence of judiciary, preamble, then justice, function of vice president, and the powers of the parliament. Further, we saw that we derived features of liberty, equality, and fraternity from the French Revolution. Okay. Then from Japan, we got concept of the procedure of establishment of law, rule of the law, and the rule of the law and rule to be followed by the law. So that are the functions from the Japan Constitution. Then we see 5-year plans borrowed from USSR formally. Later in 1991, it was broken up into Russia and other states. So USSR gave the concept of 5-year plan, then principle of socialism was again a part of it. Then from Germany we got the principle of suspension of fundamental rights during the emergency provision. So emergency provision, we will look into it, article 352 to 360, under which President of India has special power to discriminate the people on the ground of rule of law in certain situation, in certain of financial calamities, in situations of war and external aggressions and in cases of armed rebellion. So in such cases the fundamental rights of liberty, right to life, right to vote and right to religious instructions, they all are curtailed during the emergency situation. So that are the powers of president taken from the Germany. Then from USA we saw that we have preamble, we have fundamental rights, independence of judiciary, how the judiciary work without any interference from the legislature or the executive, that are from USA. Then functions of Vice President's office, how the Vice President works as the head of the upper house of Rajya Sabha, how he works in the absence of the President of India, and how the amendments are being made in Indian Constitution. That is why Constitution is called as a living document, because of amendability. Amendments are being made in Indian Constitution whenever they are required. So it is called as a living document. Then next part we get from Australian Constitution, that is procedure of solving the deadlock in the different houses. So there is provision of joint sitting between the center and states in terms of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Then we have the list of concurrent power in the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India. Then we have the South African Constitution, which provided the amendment with 2/3 majority in the parliament, which is a special majority. Okay, there is simple majority, there is a special majority. So we will look into detail when we discuss about the parliament in upcoming videos. And there is a procedure for the election of members of Rajya Sabha. So what are the members there in the Rajya Sabha, how they are getting elected, what is proportional representation, or such kind of thing are borrowed from the South African Constitution. From Canada we borrowed the name of Union of India, that is naming a country through her own choice, that is a part of Indian Constitution. Then there are provisions and residuary powers in hands of the central government, that are all taken from the borrowed features of Indian Constitution. So these are called as the borrowed features. Okay friends, remember it, very important for your prelims as well as mains point of view. So I believe you are learning the lecture with heart and soul, understanding the fact. Keep watching the videos carefully, make notes and write in the comment box that what are your doubts. We will be solving it in the coming lectures. So I feel it is doing good and you are enjoying the lectures. Solve the MCQs as well as mains based question. So thanking you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.